Excuse me. I have a giant pimple. Just ignore it. Cat's going a bit nuts, but the puppy is out of the house, so we're gonna film these videos. So today we're filming my November book haul. As predicted, it is nice and not too big. I wouldn't say it's small, but it's not too big. And hopefully December will be pretty similar. So let's jump into the books that I bought in the month of November. I'm really excited for most of them. All of them. I only have 13 things to show you in this haul, which I'm pretty proud of, to be honest. I'm pretty proud. Okay, so first off, let's start with this stack. First off, we have Furthermore by Tahira Murphy. You'll see in my wrap up, but I read Witchwood this past month, and technically Furthermore comes first, but Witchwood appealed to me much more as a premise. So I decided to skip Furthermore initially, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to it or not, but I ended up really enjoying Witchwood, which you'll see in my wrap up. So I picked up Furthermore by Tahira Murphy. These are a middle grade series, very whimsical, and what I ended up loving so much about Witchwood was the narration and the writing style. So I definitely thought I will end up actually loving this, so I picked it up. It's about a girl who's born without colour. She has pale skin, milk white hair, and normally colour and magic are like huge in her space, so everything's really colourful, and so she kind of stands out for not having any colour. So I'm really excited to read this. Next up we have a sequel, and that is The Ever Cruel Kingdom by Rinch Paker. This is the sequel to The Never Tilting World. This is also the floppiest hardback I've ever had, which I think is because this is such a perfectly rounded, stitched in spine, but like it's so floppy for a hardback. I think I said paperback, but I meant hardback. It's the floppiest hardback I've ever seen for like a book this size. It's beautiful. This series is about a world where it stopped spinning, so one half's constantly night and one half's constantly in day, and so it's got a bit of a Mad Maxi-esque vibe in the constant day space. It's very like apocalyptic, but also there's magic, and these two twins that are on either side, and they're trying to like solve the problem and get the world spinning again. It's a duology, so once I read this one it'll be over. I'm gonna try and squeeze this in December if I can. I'm very excited to read it, and this cover is just stunning. I think it's just plain underneath, but let's check. Yeah, it just has a pretty it's fine. I went to the bookstore and I wasn't ever gonna get this, and then I kind of caved because the illustrations are really pretty, and that is The King of Elfhame, How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black, but it's illustrated by Ravina Kai, who I love. So this is part of the Cruel Prince series, which I don't love. I really enjoyed book one, but it went downhill from there. But this is beautifully illustrated, and I'll probably try and squeeze this in December because it's nice and short, and it should be pretty easy to fly through. I also picked up The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. This is not a sequel, but has a similar cover and is like, I don't even think it's in the same world, but she's the author of The Binding. This is another queer fantasy story. It just looks beautiful. I haven't read The Binding yet, but I'm really excited to, and I probably shouldn't have bought this because I have a unofficial rule where I don't buy books from an author I have a book already outstanding on my TBR for. But I was a bit scared that this would go down. In Australia, books tend to start in a big paperback like this, a trade paperback, and then they'll drop to like a smaller size, and I wanted it to match my copy of The Binding. And I thought these aren't sequels, so even if I don't love The Binding, I would probably still give this a chance. But I don't think I will. I think I'll love both, but I wanted to make sure I still have this beautiful big format paperback. So I cheated, but we're going with it. I don't even really know what that's about other than that it's queer. I think there's magic that is based in a contest. Yeah, I think it's a game kind of magic story. I picked up two middle grades, one because I listened to the audiobook and then I had to pick up the sequel and it in physical copy, and that is The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte and Meddlestone, and the sequel, The Slightly Alarming Tales of the Whispering Wars. That is also book 3. They're more like companion novels than direct sequels because I think they follow different main characters, but because this is obviously set way in the past compared to this, but yeah, look at them, look how beautiful they are. And like, these are beautifully designed books. They are dust jacketless hardbacks. But they have gold foiling. Originally I didn't like this cover, but I didn't see it in person, and then when I saw it in person with the foiling and then the foiled spine, I was just like, yeah, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. It's beautiful. This is not the UK cover, by the way. Hey girls, this is a Australian only maybe cover. I know that Charles James Manford does the UK covers, which are also gorgeous if you're interested, but I am obsessed with these, and I will try and read this one really soon so I can also pick up book 3 in the same matching set, because I think they're beautiful. This series, or at least Bronte Meddlestone, is about Siri, oh my god, I'm not talking to you. This is about a girl called Bronte whose parents died and they left her a will that was very specific, and she had to go visit all her aunts and follow these specific instructions in the will, otherwise the magic was going to destroy her town. And it was absolutely amazing. It has tiny short chapters, illustrations, like there's like 100 and something chapters in this. 108, so there are lots of really short chapters illustrated, and it was just so fun. It's interestingly paced, but I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, but we'll talk about that more at my wrap up. But yeah, so I'm hopeful that the second book will be just as good. Sequel to another book I read in November, which I'll talk about in my wrap up, I also picked up A Tale of Witchcraft by Chris Colfer. I did end up listening to the first book, but I really enjoyed it. I might end up listening to the second one too, but I still really wanted to have a copy because I think these covers are stunning, and I own his whole first series too. But they have a die cut window, and then that's underneath. Oh, they're just beautiful. This series is kind of like an intense, like far back prequel to his original series, with lots of Easter eggs to the original series, and it's about like a really dodgy world where a lot of magical creatures, magic is like outlawed, but they're trying to bring back and like make magic acceptable again. And yeah, I really enjoyed book 1, so I'm really excited to read book 2 as well, and I'm glad to have it for my shelf. I also picked up Nightshine by Tessa Gratton. Originally I was so scared to buy this because the cover, I thought, this girl on the cover is not appealing to me at all, but it's actually like the guilt of the writing and the spine is kind of selling me. But I love Tessa Gratton's writing, and from people who've read other things from her that I love, like Strange Grace, have said this is like absolutely superb. So and probably her best thing yet. So I was like, oh, I don't really like the cover. I still don't love the cover, but like apparently it's just that good, so I'm gonna try it. I don't know much about it, but we follow a girl whose name is Nothing, and she's friends to the prince, and I know it's sapphic. I think it's sapphic, but I know it's queer of some description, but I can't remember exactly like what the representation is in this. Whether, I think it might be ace rep maybe, and yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to read it, but I don't love the cover. I also picked up Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston. This is Ashley Poston's first fantasy, I think, maybe. Oh no, she did, oh yeah, they were sci-fi, wasn't it? Solar Stars and Heart of Iron was sci-fi. This is fantasy. I think it's a like a Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling. I'm not really sure, but I love this cover. It's got the like faux stitching, like they're made out of they look like they're made out of actual materials, which is really cool. It's foiled, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this copy. It's got a very white under jacket. I don't know enough about what it's about, but I've heard like everyone loves Ashley Poston. I really want to read her stuff, and I thought this was a good place to start because I tend to prefer fantasy over contemporary in general. I also picked up Blaze Wrath Games. I keep saying Blaze Wraith, but it's Wrath, not Wrath, not games. Not Wraith. Blaze Wrath Games by Amparo Ortiz. This is a Latinx or Latine. Latine. I don't have the right accent to pronounce properly. I'm very sorry. Puerto Rican fantasy, but like a urban contemporary fantasy. And I think they dragon fight. yeah, it's like a World Cup dragon fighting. Yeah, I've heard it's absolutely amazing. Its own voice is Puerto Rican, and I think it's also queer, but I don't really know. Rachel Stroll, loved it. I love Rachel, she's amazing. And yeah, I can't even, I don't know how to sell this to you, but it just is like, I think it's queer. It's sporty, but like in a dragon sport way. We love it. I'm so obsessed with the idea of this, and I'm keen to read it. I also picked up Master of Poisons by Andrea Hairston. This is an African fantasy. It's African folktales and post-colonial literature blended into fantasy. So there's poison desert eating good farmland. One sweet water turns foul. To get caught in a storm is death. To live and do nothing is death. There is magic in the world, but good conjure is hard to find. So we follow Jola, right-hand man and spy master of the Lord of the Archesian Empire, who's desperately trying to save his adopted homeland, even in exile. And Awa, a young woman training to be a powerful griot, tests the limits of her knowledge and comes into her own in a world of sorcery, floating cities, kindly beasts, and uncertain men. So it's folkloric, epic fantasy, African. I don't know if it's a specific area, it just says African folktales, but I know its own voices. I think Andrea Hairston's African American, and this just like it appealed to me on so many levels. I love fantasy, like high fantasy, but also folktale based fantasy. And I've been really enjoying like Raybearer, which was an African fantasy, which was amazing. So I'm hopeful this will give me similar vibes and I'm really gonna love it. I've only heard good things, but it has kind of been running under the radar. So if you're interested in African fantasy, it is adult fantasy, but please pick it up because it looks amazing. And I'm gonna tell you what I think of it when I read it super soon. One of my most anticipated releases of the month was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is her new fantasy series. I think it's a series. It's epic. Yeah, it's the Between Earth and Sky trilogy. So it's inspired by the civilization of the pre-Columbian Americas. Obviously, Rebecca Roanhorse is Native and African American. And I'm pretty sure this is really steeped in Native American culture. I think is she Navajo? I can't remember. But apparently this is absolutely amazing. Also apparently the audiobook is great, so I'm kind of tempted to read along with the audiobook if I can get my hands on it. It looks so good. I'm obsessed with the idea of it, and I've literally only heard good things about this. So and finally, also probably my most anticipated release of the month was These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is Chloe is Chinese Kiwi, and this book is set in Hong Kong in the 20s, no, Shanghai in the 20s. And it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I've literally, again, heard nothing but good things about this. I follow Chloe Gong everywhere and I love her. She's amazing. And yeah, I've heard this is only absolutely stunning. I'm desperate to fit this into my December TBR. Also, I'm sure everyone's already talked about this, but I am obsessed with the fact that her acknowledgements is literally like 6 pages. I love it, I'm obsessed. I'm desperate to fit this into my December TBR. And I have a few slots, but like I would like to read these as well as, where is it? The Ever Cruel Kingdom. I have 2 slots in my, which I don't know how to fill yet, in my clear shit TBR for a couple of the two boss battles that are remaining, but these 3 books that I would want to desperately fit into all of those, and I don't even know what the prompts are yet, so I don't know if any of these are going to fit, but these 3 are the ones I'm definitely prioritizing to try and squish into December. So I want to read all of them desperately. So those are all the books that I purchased in the month of November. Let me know what you've been buying, reading. I'd love to hear about it, and otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!